Hello students and welcome to our course Competitiveness Module 8 for the 8th semester. We are in the week number 10 now and we want to learn today about the Chinese culture and traditions. You will learn that this is one of the oldest culture that exists in the world. So welcome to this class and welcome to the Chinese culture and traditions. We have the goals for today, that is provide tools to you to increase the possibilities of entering the labor and business market. So knowing the culture and the society of different countries, you will know how to make businesses. Also, opportunities for professional self-improvement. We're going to learn about the Chinese culture and traditions and how this culture is related to different cultures and societies around the world. Okay, here we have 4 quotes for this week. The first one, the Chinese cultures belongs not only to the Chinese, but also to the world world. You see this quote that said the president from China. It's the culture is so great that belongs to all the world, not only to the Chinese people. And the second one that was told by Confucius, he says, he who learns but does not think is lost. He who thinks but doesn't not learn is in great danger. So thinking something for you, analyze these quotes. The third one, we should push the Chinese culture to the world and make it a positive factor in deepening understanding, friendship and cooperation with the rest of the world. Well, you know that the Chinese country is helping a lot of different countries in several ways. And the last one, also by Confucius, says, the man who says he can and the man who says he cannot are both correct. You see how interesting it is? I want that you analyze these quotes for yourselves and tell me what you think about it. Okay, here we have the Chinese culture. China is one of the 4 ancient civilizations alongside Babylon, India and Egypt. So this is one of the oldest cultures of the world. According to Chinese scholar Lian Qiao in 1900, it boasts a vast and a varied geographic expanse, 3,600 years of written history. Imagine that, all this time, all this year, as well as a rich and profound culture. Chinese culture is diverse and unique, yet harmoniously blended and invaluable asset to the world. Our China culture guide contains information divided into traditions, and we're going to learn that part today. Also about heritage, arts, festivals, language, symbols. Topics include the Chinese food, this delicious food. I'm going to tell you that is one of my favorites. World heritage sites. Also, we're going to talk about some traditional things like the China's spring festivals. We're going to talk also about the Kung Fu and the Beijing Opera. And if you see here, in here we are showing some traditions about China. China's heritage. Well, China's national heritage is both tangible and intangible. You remember in the first class when we talk about the division of culture, we have 2 different types, tangible and intangible culture, with natural wonders and historic sites as well as ethnic songs and festivals included. As of 2018, 53 noteworthy Chinese sites were inscribed on the UNESCO's World Heritage. You see 53 places. In Guatemala we have some. Remember that. There are 36 cultural heritage, 13 natural heritage, and 4 cultural and natural heritage. And in here you can see also some of part of the Chinese culture, the Chinese architecture, the World Heritage sites, and the Chinese religion. We want to talk about that also today. Okay, we want to talk about the Chinese festivals. Well, as the Latin culture, also China have a lot of celebrations. China has several traditional festivals that are celebrated all over the country in different ways. The most important is the Chinese New Year. Remember that for every year they have a certain type of animal that define the way that the year is going to go. The Mid-Autumn Festival in China is also important with its 55 ethnic minorities. So imagine that in Guatemala we have 23 different dialects, 23 different ethnicities, and in China they have 55 ethnic minorities. Also has many ethnic festivals, from Tibet to Manchuria to China's tropical south. Different celebrates their new year, their harvests, and other things in various ways. So they celebrate in every season different things. We have the Chinese Spring Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival, the Dragon Boat Festival, the Shatong Festival, the Tibetan New Year's, and the Sister Meals Festival. So this is part of the Chinese culture. Okay, if you want to learn Chinese, well, let me tell you that Chinese is reckoned to be the most difficult language to learn in the world. So imagine that. But if you learn Chinese, well, you know that Mandarin, the Chinese Mandarin right now is the most important language nowadays around the world, more than the English, but it's so difficult to learn, but it's not impossible. But you need to think about that part. But that also must make it the most interesting. It's the world's only remaining pictographic language in common use. So we don't have no more pictographic languages anymore, with thousands of characters making up the language. Its pronunciation is generally one syllable per character in one of 5 tones. And China's rich literary culture includes many pithy sayings and beautiful poems. So in here you can see some Chinese characters, the Chinese writing, also the learning Chinese that you know now that is so hard to learn, but it's not impossible, and also some Chinese sayings. Okay, now we want to talk about the symbols of China. Well, every nation has its own symbol, but what should you think when it comes to China? Well, you may conjure up images of long-coiled dragons, the red flags, pandas, the Great Wall, table tennis, the list goes on. But these 3 are the main symbols from China: the Chinese dragons, the giant pandas, and of course the Great Wall. Now we want to talk a little bit about religion and tradition beliefs in China. Check this Chinese proverb that says, "If heaven made in, earth can find some use for him." So this is beautiful, right? Since ancient times, China has been a country that was home to various religions. Confucianism can be seen as the foundation of Chinese beliefs. Since it advocates tolerance, many other religions were adopted and practiced over centuries. Confucianism, Taoism, and later on Buddhism are the 3 major religions that helped develop China's religious values. So recent surveys state that about 80% of Chinese are religious or have carried out religious practices. In the 1900s, intellectuals raised questions about religion and treated them with suspicion. Why? When the Communist Party began governing China in 1949, the government began heavily monitoring all religions and beliefs and were themselves an ethics institution, forbidding members to follow any religions. Well, today, for religions, the atheists constitute 74% of population. This is atheism. You see how interesting is that? The Buddhism is with 16% and 3% for Christianity. So it's a minimum part in China about the religion that are Christian. It's only 3%. And you see the high percent is 74 of the atheists. So think about that part and the traditions and religions and beliefs in China. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about arts and architecture. Everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. This was told by Confucius. This is another Chinese proverb. China's art landscapes can be defined by the ebb and flow of many ruling dynasties. Much art was historically produced in imperial factories, and these include textiles and ceramics. Since these were produced in large scale, the individual creators were hard to track down. These works were used in China's courts, and many were also exported as a show of power and wealth from various emperors. Well, perhaps the most well-known from Chinese art is Chinese ceramic. This is so beautiful. These are prolific because so many of the raw materials needed to make it are found only in China. So imagine that, like why they're making some special. Other form of Chinese art includes calligraphy, sculpture that make bronze, and various forms of painting. The modern art scene is slowly gaining popularity, but there are very few galleries in art museums, so that's why arts and architecture is so important for the Chinese culture. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit more about another Chinese proverb that says, the reign of every new emperor begins when he dons his new robes. Well, let's start thinking about all these proverbs that we have talked in the class. Like with many things in China, the color red is an important part of traditional Chinese dress. It is also characterized by traditional being made from silk. Like arts and religion, their dress themes changed with the dynasties. During China's feudalist era, colors helped distinguish upper and lower classes. Imagine that. The colors defined the class of that you belong. Amongst the upper classes, only the emperor was allowed to wear yellow. So when you wear yellow, it's like the maximum thing to dress in China. In ancient times, emperors wore elaborately decorated silk outfits, often adorned with dragons. So this is something like a beautiful dress. Imagine that. The quintessential image of traditional dress is the cheongsam. The dress is so elegant without being too flamboyant and can be worn short or long. It depends the season, so it is too hot, you wear a short way, or is in winter you can wear a long way. It is commonly worn at weddings with the bride in red. So imagine that. When somebody is going to get married, the dress is the color red. Okay, to the ruler, the people are heaven, to the food is heaven. This is another Chinese proverb. So we want to talk a little bit about the food in China. China is a country that is one in love with food. Meals times represent the time all the family to get together to eat and chat. More so than on other countries, eating is an event in China, and traditional Chinese food offers a variety of culinary delights to satisfy the feasts of palates. Chinese usually eat their meals around a massive lazy Susan lading with many different kinds of dishes. And of course, the large bowl of rice that accompanies most meal, okay? So remember that the rice is always in the table with the Chinese people. It's widely known among Chinese that people in the north eat more noodles, while people in the south eat more rice. So this is part of culture also. They also attach certain meanings to different food types. For example, noodles represents longevity. So imagine that. So if you eat more noodles, you're gonna live more. From the nominal spices, Sichuan pepper to Peking duck from Beijing, and the steamed buns eaten for breakfast, Chinese cuisine truly has something for everyone. Okay, here you can see some pictures about the traditions in China, like the Spring Festival, the Dragon Boat Festival that are so beautiful, Mid-Autumn Festival, the Qixi Festival, the Qingyuan Festival, and the Lantern Festival. You see all these traditions, and you see these kids wearing in red. Remember that this is a special color in China. Okay, in here we have another picture seeing the same traditions about the religions, and here you can see the Buddhists, a lot of people that is getting this new religion in other countries. Also the China ethnic minority, remember that we talked there are 55 ethnic groups. Well, all the World Heritage Sites, the Beijing Opera that is so famous, the Chinese paper craft like the origami, and also the Chinese script. And you can see here all these great foods that the Chinese culture has. And it's based on a lot of seafood, rice, noodle, and this is so delicious with a lot of spices that are special flavors and tastes from China. And of course, the chopsticks, when they eat, they don't use a fork or a knife, they use the stick chop. So enjoy these beautiful pictures. I hope that you don't get hungry, but those are so delicious. Okay, and for the last part, we have here the question to study. So please answer these questions and we will be ready for the test. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that you enjoy this class about the Chinese culture.